Stuey Byrne, good morning to you.
Morning. Morning.
You've one of the few people in the world who might be able to compare all the great European nights in Tolka Park. How did that rank? You just needed the result, right?
Just needed the result, yeah. Look, there was loads of. I mean, it was full of hope, obviously, when you went down. And considering that they won the away game, I would have thought that there was probably some sort of, you probably would have thought that there was a psychological advantage to Shels, considering sort of maybe the backlash that Rijeka had received after losing the game last week. And I think it was important probably for Shels maybe to realise that situation and to take advantage of that situation. Sometimes when you have like a boxer, when you've got somebody against the ropes, you just got to go over and put them down, that kind of way.
So be as aggressive as you can at the start.
But not necessarily physically. I think there's a kind of there can be a way in which you go about your business. You can kind of get inside the heads of the opposition. There's a kind of what you're trying to leverage that psychological advantage you have over them, and I didn't think they did that necessarily, Shels. I thought maybe they were a little bit tentative. There were definitely spells in the first 15, 20 minutes where the energy levels are very good, especially from Ger Gilroy. I thought he was excellent first 15, 20 minutes because Rijeka were quite slow in their possession across the back four. I mean, it's funny enough, I'd actually watched them in the warm-up, and I watched the back four go through a drill whereby the right full, instead of passing to the nearest centre-half, he'd miss him out for the player, and it was this constant pattern of them trying to move the ball quicker, move the ball across the pitch quicker, missing the first man to kind of hit the second man to kind of get the opposition to move across the pitch. This is all kind of coaching stuff. They didn't do it in the game at all,
right?
Which tells me straight away they were nervous. Yeah. They were tentative, and I think that's what you got to sense as a player, and it's just something that happens in the game. Maybe somebody. One player says to the other player, "Listen, these look tentative, whatever," and you kind of go after. You sense blood a little bit, And to be fair, that did happen. McInroy in particular, I thought was excellent at that because he copped onto that quite quickly, and he started to nail the right full on a couple of occasions because he could read the pass, and it was so obvious. So things like that, were very good for Shels' first 15, 20, 25 minutes maybe, but it kind of just petered out a little bit, and then of course, when the opportunity for Shels to kind of keep possession of the ball didn't really materialise, and definitely Fruck coming into the team was a huge issue for them. He was pure quality. He drifted around the park. If you want to be hypercritical of Shels, they probably should have tried to shut him down, maybe stick somebody on him for 15, 20 minutes, frustrate him, niggle at him, step on his heels, give him a little couple of shoves, get in his head a little bit. But he was just given a free rein, and then he just pops up and he gets the goal,
The goals were outrageous.
The goals were excellent. But I don't think you really should be surprised. When you play in Europe, European football is like that. That's always been the lesson from European football. Is that you get punished for mistakes. And they got punished last night for mistakes. The second goal, Dantas strike, for me, that can be stopped because I just felt when Shels started the second half, they were a little bit too open centrally, and there was a lead up to it for about 10 minutes. Petrovic, Fruck, Dantas were just starting to pop up into that little bit of space 30 yards out, and Shels, who were very good in the first half, are kind of narrowing that down a little bit loose, and you could just see it was coming. Now, look, when Dantas picks the ball up 35, 40 yards out, he gets turned, he has a little step forward, he's stepping into 10 yards space.
Yeah.
That shouldn't really happen, but the strike is outrageous, it's pure quality.
It's very difficult, I'd imagine, to approach the second leg when you overachieve in the first leg, I suppose, to win that game 2-1, Shels. And you were saying they were started a bit tentatively. If you were part of the coaching staff, or even if you were on the pitch, what would you have tried to have done differently? To be more assertive, to be more proactive? Or how do you deal with the result like that when it's kind of unexpected?
Look, I mean, the overachieving thing is I don't look at it that way, really. Like I think Shels went into this game as underdogs. I don't believe in underdogs or favourites and all that kind of stuff. I believe in you have to find a way to win a game. So Shels went into the away game. Okay, let's call them the underdogs. They're up against it. You go through all the tactical stuff. You see how they play. You see where their weaknesses is, and basically what you do is you find a way to nullify them. You find a way to get a goal. You find a way to win the game. It's exactly what they did. So a lot of people would have come away from maybe the game away and said, yeah, they're the better team. They've got more quality. They've got the internationals. It doesn't matter. You look at the score sheet, Shels won the game because they found a way to win the game. And that was the case last night. What happened in the end was Rijeka were the team that found a way to win the game. What would I have done differently last night? I probably would have, I have to say, I probably would have put somebody on Fruck for 15, 20 minutes, maybe even for the first half. I would have shut him down definitely, because you could just see that he was that player that can take the ball in a very tight area and get turned and cause things and make things happen. But what Shels did actually do very well last night was as a group, I suppose they kind of suffocated that central area, which Rijeka kind of liked to try to expose. Two centre halves getting on the ball, or even maybe on a couple of occasions, Petrovic or Dantas started to drop in deep to kind of split the two centre halves, and they're trying to tread that ball into either Juric up top or Fruck, because that's the way they kind of play. But Shels did do a very good job as a group of shutting that down. But ultimately, the goal came from a wide area, a delivery into the box, Juric good touch, and then Dantas kind of set it up. When you look at the goal again, you've got Juric, Dantas, Fruck, basically free around the central D of the pitch, and I've never seen Shels like that before. And there were frustrating. Like, what would be frustrating, I suppose, and it would be frustrating for Joey as well, and to the team. Like, I'm not kind of being critical of the team, but they will be scratching their heads about this. And the amount of times deliveries from wide areas came in, under hit crosses or sloppy crosses, or sort of coming in at waist high, and there was never a Shels man to go and just clear. There was always there was a tentativeness and a kind of and it was always a Rijeka player. You look at the kind of, there was a couple of sort of half chances in the first half. Dantas with the header and all, from a sloppy cross, or even corners against them. Like, I don't think they hit one good corner in from Rijeka, but there was never a Shels player really kind of going and stepping in, and it was.
It's part of that this is so yesterday people were talking about the prize money for winning the game is so big that you might be able to get the deposit for a house. They haven't been through this.
I've been there, yeah.
They haven't.
Yeah.
They don't know what this is like. So 3 or 4, in fairness, have had European experience, but for the vast majority of them, it's like, oh my God, this is life changing.
Yeah, no, I completely take that on board.
And for Joey as well.
I'll talk to you from experience. I can remember when we played Deportivo, and this is God's honest truth. Basically, the lads were saying you're going to be mortgage free if we get through. Now, so I get it. No, I do, and I get it. I do get it, and that is, yes, Ger, that's an issue that especially the League of Ireland teams have to deal with. But it's I suppose you have to. I suppose experience, is key for them. This is really their kind of, they won the league last year. They're in the Champions League, and there's no doubt about it, they'll be a better experienced team for it. And I would hope certainly next week, or when, I'm not too sure when the next game is, whether it's Linfield or Viking, but I think they will definitely be more ready. They will have learned from the experience, especially this game in particular. There's no doubt about it. Last night was a step back for them.
Yeah.
They got a proper box to the head last night, and they just got to just settle themselves down and step forward again. So they have to realise the opportunity that they have. I mean, it's no disrespect to Linfield or Viking, but the opportunity to get into Conference League football is just huge.
You're saying about that learning curve last night, and they'll remember it because they have to. But it'll be so long until that happens again that they're going to play the opposition of that quality. Because even if it's Linfield or Viking, probably be less. then they go back to the day job, so to speak, in the domestic league, and you won't come up against opposition like that. So how do you learn? Because when you're back there again next year, if you are back there, you're going to be just as nervous.
You learn from the only way you learn is from failing. There's no doubt about it. I had this experience on a couple of occasions. You know, and I certainly don't want the Shelbourne team to experience this, but you know, from my own experience, 2002, being beaten by Hibs of Malta in the Champions League. I'm not lying to you. We completely dominated the game. Got beaten by a 91st minute disaster. And I'm a grown man. I met my wife across the road after the game, bawling, crying, devastated. And the reason I was devastated was I realised to get that opportunity, we had to win a league title, okay, and then progress through the first round of European football. I knew at that point, right, this is like 20 minutes after the game, the sheer effort to get to that point again is horrendous. The most difficult thing you'll ever do in your life. So that's the only way they'll learn, and hopefully last night will be some sense of what's coming if they don't do their stuff next week. Like, it's devastating. There's no doubt about it. But
so how do you pick them up now? Because the same opportunity exists, really. Like, I'm not sure anybody really.
It's a better opportunity.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Well, it's do or die, right? This time, next time.
Yeah,
there's no parachute.
Well, this is where they're good. So I don't know if you remember last year when they won the league. So they had kind of hit a bit of a wall 10 games out, and they went on a really, poor run of form, if you want to call that. But it got to the point where they literally had that. It was it. They had 3 games left. They had to win the 3 games. That was it. There was no because you knew Shamrock Rovers were going to win their 3 games. And what did they do? They went and won the 3 games. So you there's form here. Yeah, I think that's something you can definitely play on. How do you big them up? You just kind of, you got to keep the group together. I think you just got to players have to be honest. There's no doubt about it. I would like to hope that after the game, a couple of players might have said, "Look, we weren't at it tonight. We lost the game. We didn't deserve to win." There's no if you come off the pitch last night thinking we were hard done by because we got ourselves back into the game and this and that. You're wasting your time. You have to be genuinely honest and just identify where it went wrong, But if you can do that, and if you can, I suppose, they're playing Pats in the Cup and on Sunday, I think it is. A win there would certainly be a huge help to them, especially if you go to Richmond Park. But
games are suddenly huge because it's going to be a struggle for them to finish. Well, I suppose it's not that far behind Derry in the league. It's only 4 points back from Bows in second, but the race for European places in the league is going to be cutthroat.
Yeah.
So a cup win.
The cup is huge. There's no doubt about it. The Pats will be looking at the same thing. But if you're looking at it from a Shels point of view, you've got Pats on Sunday, and then they've either or the following week. I think you just got to approach the game on Sunday like it's you've got to play your strongest team as a preparation game for the next game, and I think it's important that they well, it's huge to get a win in the game, but ultimately they get a really good performance. I'd be worried, if that game didn't go right on Sunday, psychologically for the team. But yeah, that's the game.
Does the paying off the mortgage thing help your first touch?
Help your first touch?
Yeah, that's unbelievable pressure, isn't it? Because that's taking care of your family by playing via football.
Yeah, but that's the game. It's hard to get inside the heads of the individual players, but there's always pressure in football. If you're playing in Tolka Park in front of 4,500 fans or 10,000 fans or whatever it is at any one stage when you're playing, regardless of if you're playing against Ballyfermot United in the FA Cup or you're playing against Bows in the league,
I get that.
You take it on board.
It's just what's on the line, I suppose, in that instance.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. There's no My biggest takeaway from playing in European football was always this is something that always stuck in my head, okay? And it took me a year or two to learn this. The minute you look at the opposition, you see these 6'4", tanned, the headphones, all. listen, you may laugh. It's a psychological thing. These guys carry themselves like they were the best things in sliced bread. Like, you know, I mean, think about any time you ever gone on holidays, you know, and you go down to the beach, you take your top off, and you probably look, you know, you look like Big Daddy compared to the rest of them. They're all ripped, you know. 5% body fat. Like, these are normal people, not footballers. You know? So there's a thing on the continent. But this is a thing. This is what you have to get over, because you get off the bus, you see them getting off the bus, and you're saying, Jesus, he's good looking. Look at his hair and all this. And so you have to get over that. So what you have to do is you have to do the same. You have to stand up. You got to stick your chest out. You stand beside that person on the pitch. You give him a little nudge, and you say, "Not tonight." You know, that's the thing, and that's actually no different, believe it or not, from playing, like I say, in a third round of the FAI Cup against a non-league team, you know, or whether you're playing, you know, in a league decider. Like, you know, at some stage in your football career, especially at this level, the fine line between being arrogant and being confident, you know, it's a very, very fine line. But you have to be confident. You have to stick your chest out and you say, do you know what? I deserve to be here. You're not going to, and whether you want to look at it as an individual thing, a man-to-man thing, you're not going to do me tonight. Yeah. I'm going to do you, and that's the end of it.
Is there a fine line too between preparation of the opposition and remaining confident that you can play your own game?
That's an individual thing. That comes down to the individual players. Some players, I believe, now just want to consume information. Some players don't, you know, and so that just comes down to the individual player. But yeah, I would imagine that is probably a very difficult thing to manage in modern day football.
You have to prepare for your opponent.
You do, yeah.
I imagine most players
absolutely,
have to, I imagine.
Yeah.
But then you can, I guess, flirt with the danger of becoming consumed by the other person and forgetting about yourself.
You see, but this is where the psychology of it is huge, right? If you give me, I was actually about to say, you give me a DVD of a player, right? I'm old, right? You give me video footage of a player I'm supposed to watch, right? You could watch that player and you go, Jesus, he's deadly. Look at him, 6'4", the hair, you know, the swagger, whatever. You stand beside him on the pitch. He's just like me and you standing against you. You look at him in the eye and you go, do you know what? You know, you're not all that, right? Really, like, you know. So what I'm trying to say is that you learn in real time. You got to learn in real time. You got to see how this person moves, and then all of a sudden you're standing beside him for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're going,
never as impressive.
Not all that great, you know. Okay, I can see how he moves now, you know. So
football intelligence you're talking about.
That's the emotional intelligence. So yeah, the football intelligence of being able to react in the game to what's going on.
Had it last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, and so did a couple of the other players. But yeah, McEnroy, to be fair to him, he just copped onto it, like, you know, that kind of way, and he went and nailed Orich 3 or 4 times in that first half. And then if everybody does that, it's a different game, like, you know.
Who would you have put on Fruk? You know, you were suggesting there earlier in our chat that even for the first quarter of the game or whatever, you would have had someone man marking him, because Mark Coyle would have probably been a good option if he had been playing.
Yeah, so it's all this bus and maybes, like, probably McEnroy actually, considering how he was playing, and might have, you know, I mean, but then again, look, you're kind of you're the negative to doing that, to tell, okay, you go Ger McEnroy, just get on Fruk for a couple of minutes, like whatever, like, you know, you're kind of taking away maybe from Shels being at home and wanting to get on the ball and sort of and keep possession, but they didn't do that anyway, like, you know. So it's a very fine line. I don't, to be honest with you, it's very difficult probably in the game to turn around to a player and say, listen, go and stick on him for a few minutes, like, you know. I think probably the objective. I'd imagine they would have spoke about it before the game, and I'd say JJ Lunny, Ger McEnroy, Sam Bone and Paddy Barrett, or even Cameron Led, which is between the 4 of them, there was probably this conversation where we have to talk between the 4 of us. You know, who's going to step in, keep an eye on him, that kind of thing. And that's a difficult thing to do, I think, anyway. And when you, I suppose, as the game was materialising, you could see he definitely was the guy that was probably going to cause the trouble. But you know, the Shels are confident in their setup, in their ability. They said, "Do you know what? I think we've got this nullified." So they kind of stuck to the original game plan.
Can I ask you about the difference in levels when you're playing with Shels against European sides in general? So last night and against Deportivo in your time and the likes, And I think you said earlier in the chat that like the big difference is that that type of opposition take their chances.
Yeah.
Is that the big difference, or is it they have more time on the ball and they're doing something you just don't see domestically? Like, what is the actual
it's quality.
difference?
It is. It's the definition of quality.
Right.
It's the definition of quality. That's always been the learning experience in European football. You give up a chance 90% of the times they'll score, or 100% of the times they'll hit the target.
Are they actually doing the same thing as domestic opposition, but they're just nailing it? Or are they going about it differently?
No, you're talking about players that literally move the ball quicker, get turned quicker, one touch, everything's offloaded quicker. They're going to step into the game. They're already on their bike when they're receiving the ball. It's just a different pace, a different quality. I mean, the goal last night in Dantas, did you see him? Did you see him? He's about that height. Right, he's like that. Literally, I saw him after the game. Pure core. Okay, no backlift in his strike, and he's just bang. I mean, the pace of I don't know if you could measure the speed of the strike, but it was crazy, But these are sort of they're just born footballers, I suppose. But they are a pure technician.
Yeah,
pure technician. Just incredible core. Like his legs are like that. But just incredible. It's just stunning.
Is that level attainable for Irish players?
Yeah, actually it is. But
well, Rovers got there, right?
Rovers. The Rovers are there. Rovers are at this level now. They are now at a level whereby there's an internal culture in the club. They're expected not just to kind of get through the first round of, when I played, get through the first round of European football, then you get through the second round, and it was this intermittent development. Rovers now at a stage where we're expected to get to the group stages of the competition.
No, they play with confidence.
Yeah.
Are Rovers playing the same way that you're describing these European opposition, where they're a beat ahead and their technique is that level above?
Oh, yeah,
or are they doing it in their own specific kind of Irish way?
I think, I look at players like Graham Burke, and I think they have that kind of that level of. I'm not trying to take away from Shels players. Harry Wood, I think, has that in his locker, and I don't want to pinpoint individual players, but there's definitely that quality of player here. Yeah, I think it's a mindset as well. I think I really do think it is a mindset. And it's an inner confidence that we lack. We're Irish. It's in our DNA. We're rare to be to not smell ourselves. We are, and this is a thing we have to get over. And it's always been. This will always be a thing.
Does that translate to the pitch? Do you think that Irish psyche of don't get ahead of yourself?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. Well, look, I'm speaking from experience. I mean, maybe I'm old and I'm past.
No, that's
now.
what I'm asking you. Yeah,
but this is a thing. This is a problem with the Irish international team.
Yeah,
and it's a problem right the way through Irish football, where we don't value ourselves as much as we should.
Stephen Kenny said that and got roundly slaughtered for it,
Oh no, did he? I'm in trouble now.
Well, and I think,
but it's a great point. It's spot on because we and at the same time we don't talk about that enough.
No,
we don't.
We really
don't. We don't face that issue. We look around the problem. We don't actually face it.
I think Rovers are changing it though. I do. I think that Stephen Bradley's doing a great job, and I think that he's cresting to a level of control in his job. Now, I'm saying this: if they get beaten on Thursday, then all of a sudden you're like, oh Jesus! But they're going to win the league this season, so they'll be back they'll have the champions path next year.
Yeah,
and they are thinking medium term, and they're not thinking immediate short term. Can I ask a very unfair question? Was Duffer missed over the last couple of weeks? And it's unfair on Joey O'Brien because he is doing what looks like a very good job at the moment. But again, if they were to go out over two legs against Linfield, you'd be like, oh, was Duffer missed?
I don't think so. No, I don't. I mean, the argument would be that they went and won the game away against Rijeka. So, no, I think. See, Damien. Okay, let's read it. Damien's. If Damien had a criticism of the current Shels team, it was this: the players maybe didn't step on or didn't within the group sort of take it on as that this is from Damien's point of view. And again, I'm only reading into what you said in the interview, right? So ultimately, there has to be, and again, this comes back to the inner confidence thing I'm talking about. At some stage, players, they have to step on. I mean, you'll hear Joey say it as well. There's only so much I can do. As soon as you get onto the pitch, it's up to them, like, you know. And that's the thing. There has to be this conversation within the group. There has to be this inner drive, this inner hunger. You know, if somebody makes a mistake, you have to get on them. You don't have to be hypercritical of them, but you have to kind of, you know, make them a better player. And as a player, you expect if you make a mistake, someone's going to be on your back, and that's what drives, you know, positivity, whatever the case may be. But at some stage, it's down to the players. So the players do have to kind of, I don't know, you know, a little bit selfish, a little bit overconfident. Just look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I deserve to be. I mean, I need to kind of step on.
Yeah.
And that's
a cultural change. That would take a generation or two to change, wouldn't it?
I could be here in 20 years talking about the same thing, you know.
No, but it's fascinating. It's true, and it holds us back massively.
It holds us back massively, and it's something that's not coached as well. It isn't. Look again. You know,
I think what you're talking about is having leadership groups within the team who hold themselves to account, and not to compare sports, but like the Dublin footballers would have done it. You'd hear Stuart Lancaster talking about, we appoint these people within the group, we teach them leadership skills. We sit down with them and we say, you need to be more of a leader here. You're too quiet.
I'm on about
you can teach that,
but I'm on about if you got it, flaunt it. And I'm not sure that flaunting is encouraged.
I think if everybody has a clear understanding of what the game plan is, and the game plan is a bit aggressive, like...
But I don't think we have a problem with aggression.
So I think you can flip this. Like, so we're always going to be an underdog society, right?
Yeah.
But we need to stop that, potentially. But there's actually nothing wrong with being... If you see that everybody who has been successful this summer talks about somebody writing them off, and it's all bollocks. It's all totally invented. They came over here and they said we were playing bog ball. Screw them. We're going to go and get them, and then everybody just goes. And it's just about the motivation. Like, it's a psychological trick.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, it's. I mean, you see it. You see it in actors. I mean, or you see it in singers in the music industry. Like, you know. You look at any film. People are going to go see Oasis this week, whatever. Like, you know, I guarantee you, underneath, you know, these are anxiety-filled people. You know, that probably, you know, as soon as they get off stage, they're, you know, full of anxiety. They're, you know, they go into their shell. They probably go into their quiet place, but for that 1.5 hour performance, they step on stage and bang. Chest out, they're 6'5", and they're saying performance. And the same with any actor on stage or any film. So we have to learn in football to translate an inner confidence. As soon as you're on the pitch, you become a different animal. And I think to an element we do this, but we have to get better at it. But as soon as you're off the pitch, there's a different person. It's you know, more humble. You know, you get on with your business. You kind of go back into your training level or preparation mode. You prepare for the game next week. Game comes around next week. Bang, you're turning it on again. Like, you know. So this is how do you coach that? I think you can coach that. I do. I think there might be a problem in the coaching structure at the moment, whereby players are definitely. They're being trained to do objective things, right? To kind of do this, keep doing this for 10,000 hours and you'll get better at it. Do this, you move there, iPads, whatever. You know, and what I'm talking about is we don't have the natural, you know, street players. We've heard this conversation. The people that just do something completely, like, where did that come from? Like, you know, so, you know, but they're I had the wonderful opportunity to play at Wes Houlihan and just look at this guy go. I don't even know what he's thinking. How do you do that? What gave him the right to do things like that? Like, you know, and when you meet Wes, if you know Wes Houlihan, right? He's like what I talk about off the pitch. He's as quiet as a mouse. He's humble. He doesn't even know how good he is, right? Game comes around, 1.5. Game starts, bang. He's a different animal. The guy. He's an actor. He's he's Colin Farrell. He's Bono. He's just something else for that hour and a half.
And did you ever ask him about that?
I probably did, yeah. But like, I think it was more just an awe of him. Like, I think I would have probably. I observed this from a distance. Like, just watch this kid and apologies to bring up Wes Houlihan, I know, because it's 20 years ago or whatever. But like, I'm just trying to kind of. These players are out there. They do exist. But they are gems. Like, they are hidden gems, and I think we have a responsibility in the game now to kind of identify who these players are, and they need special attention. They do. They need to be nourished. They need to be identified, and they need to be developed into the kind of players that they can be.
Just one for the road. What's your opinion about this game not being shown on national television?
Discussed it. I've expressed this internally. The fact that neither RTE or Version are showing any of the games in European football is we should be ashamed of ourselves, to be quite honest with you. I don't know what the fix is. I genuinely I was part of the Linfield game, which we put a lot of work into, and there was a lot of work went on in the background there between the production company, between the guys in production, everybody involved, Zoom calls, let's put our best foot forward. Very happy with how the home game turned out, and then nothing. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world. You might as well have not shown the home game, because what it does is it creates an expectation, and then it's gone again. But I don't know what the solution is, but we just have to be better at it. We should be European games like this, and should be shown on national television. There's no doubt about it.
Will they go through?
Yeah, I think they will. Yeah, I do. I think hopefully they realise now.
Do they care if it's Linfield or Vikingur? Would you prefer not to play Linfield again?
I wouldn't care. No.
If you're in the changing room, where you're like, we've already beaten these. They had a red card in the second leg. Got a bit hairy up there.
No, I think there has to be a mindset. I don't care. Last night was the awakening for them. I think now they have to realise the opportunity they have.
Hi, Colin. Any luck with the Oasis tickets? Not yet.
I'm looking for 3 tickets for Oasis on Sunday. Don't laugh.
No. Are you going?
I'm up in Derry on Saturday. I'm doing Derry Drogheda game on Saturday. So,
I'm sure Mossy with his Croke Park connections will be able to get you some. No,
he's looking for a ticket as well. I was talking to him last night about it. Yeah.